Hi, welcome back to my channel. I'm massive on this channel for doing videos on narcissists, but I've found a video or a couple of them on psychopaths, which I have literally said in the past that I feel like I have, like, obviously no one that I'm referring this to my life, which obviously I'm not going to go into the details of my specific situation. It's a general thing for everyone, but I've even said that I feel like I have type 2 psychopath traits, which go along with my like borderline traits, and these are like really like minor things that like trauma can bring borderline traits. I don't really want to go into all the details here. That I've noticed and apparently associated with that is often like rage, fear of rejection, stuff like that. So I've kind of like put that into the world already. And probably like still stand by it to an extent, but I also stand by the fact I'm extremely empathic at the same time. So I'm a dark empath. In my experience, enough about me. I'm just gonna get into it now because I'll just ramble for ages. So charm is the first one. Just really charming. I'm only gonna talk on the things that I feel like I can, because there are a few things on here. Never admit someone else is better. They're always competitive, and if someone is perceived as better to them, which often if someone's narcissistic and psychopathic, it's a real issue, because you know their inadequacy associated with narcissism is then they will never admit that someone else is better, so they're always trying to one up someone. And they perceive everyone to be better than them because they're narcissistic and their self-esteem so low, and they just have a really poor sense of self, and like their inadequacy will trigger that like consistently. So that's really quite a lot for to deal with. You know, narcissistic psychopaths, yeah. They look at you as being boring, and I connoted this due to psychopaths are famous for like not having much emotion or like connection to emotion. They're just kind of cold, which I'll get onto. They're often like seen as cold-hearted, heartless, and they don't actually experience a lot of emotion. They don't actually respond to other people's emotions because they don't have them themselves. So if they do things to really trigger someone emotionally, they don't really register it because they don't have that response themselves. Like, they don't have empathy for a start, but they don't recognize it. Well, they probably, no, they recognize it because they love it. They enjoy making other people like miserable and sort of like causing issues in their lives, but it's a case of when like they don't actually have that emotional trigger, like whereas like someone of an average like mentality. What I find really funny though about type 1 psychopaths, I have to say, which is the manipulative kind, where you get them type 2 psychopaths, which are more like rageful and like just sort of like off the bat like 0 to a million, but they're type 2 psychopaths can be worked. Type 1 psychopaths, they're like the manipulative kinds that are kind of like just very calculating and just sort of like try and figure out ways to like make other people's lives hell. What I find quite funny about them is their like perception of their perception of like seeing other people as autonomous beings. This is a thing about narcissists as well. Like narcissists don't perceive people as being autonomous beings, but they literally genuinely believe the whole world revolves around them, which I find so funny, because like I don't know if they're easily manipulated for that reason or it's like easier to deal with them, but the fact is they probably don't have a lot of like psychopaths and narcissists generally don't have friends. They don't like benefit from friendship. Even if they call someone a friend, they benefit from having control over people and dominance and stuff like that. So generally they don't have friends. I'm not saying all narcissists don't have friends, but the fact that type 1 psychopaths like literally believe the whole world revolves around them, I actually find very entertaining, because it's like they just literally live in like a belief that they are literally God basically, and it's just actually quite funny to me. But moving swiftly on, they look at you as boring, because I believe it's because they don't have emotional sensitivity. So I think the vast majority of people would walk around sort of like, you know, you see a nice like image, you have some nice food, something like that, and you kind of get like a positive stimulation from that. You know, pleasure, looking to the future, like just some sort of like reaction. You know, you might see someone crying, a woman dying on the street, and you might feel, you know, extremely stressed and sort of like shocked. You might feel sad because you see a dead bird, or like, you know, something sad happens and you feel a sense of sadness. Psychopaths, they don't have that like emotion. Like obviously they have a reaction to things, but it's known that psychopaths, they don't really have that reaction that normal people do. Like, it's kind of deadened, and they just don't feel it. And often they actually, sign of a psychopath is like to laugh at like a woman that's like, you know, getting like stabbed or whatever. They'll like get some sort of like joy and like sort of like satisfaction from that. Obviously psychopaths are known if they're murderous, you know, like that's pretty extreme. Obviously there's loads of them around, they're usually in prison, so you don't really come across them. But it's a case of like, you know, some people like genuinely get like joy from obviously someone getting very hurt. So yeah, and often because I feel like obviously I like to like just sort of like connote like meanings to fully like get the perception here, but they say that like it's obviously like emotional sensitivity very low, and they do things to like provoke emotions of another at their expense of their happiness. Not only because they like there's this thing called the dark triad, right? And it's like narcissism, psychopathy, and machiavellism. So machiavellism is like doing things just like to cause problems and just like being mischievous, if you like. And I think like people like they do things to evoke, so emotional psychopaths especially, and narcissists actually, there's this thing called like narcissistic vampires, which I don't really want to go into like the types of vampires now because that's a bit like holistic, and we're not talking about holistics here, we're talking about specific like logistic vampires, logistic psychopaths. But they feed off like emotions apparently, like if you want to get all like mystical about it. But it's a case of narcissists do this, and if they're emotional, if narcissists, when they evoke emotion, they're very good at evoking emotion and empathy. Actually, I've heard lots of narcissists, I think that comes with their charm, they like to evoke empathy. When they are emotional, when they evoke emotion in another person, it's because they are trying to manipulate. That's why you don't generally ever get anything from toxic people. It's usually just a detrimental experience. And sometimes when you think you're building a bond, or you aspire to build a bond with a toxic person or someone that obviously can't because like they're not able to, you know, you might get frustrated within yourself or feel like, I'll get on to how they project and make you get very manipulated in a sec. But often, yeah, the sense of emotion that you might feel can be due to them getting an outcome. For example, if someone makes you if you're involved with a psychopath and they make you feel like they love you, or like you're doing a lot for them, or you make them really happy, which they might do, to be fair, because you're a great person, I'm sure you do make them really happy. But again, with narcissists, they don't always strive to, they want stuff from you. If there's admiration, you know, you're great company, you're great energy, you're great vibes because you're a great person. But you know, it's not usually built on a bond and the emotion that you experience or they evoke in you, because they know how to evoke emotion. They're very manipulative people and very smart for various reasons. They're dishonest, and they say lots of things about the same thing to a lot of different people, so they don't have like any level of truth to them. And I heard someone describe it as a lie bank, that they kind of just they just have this like perpetual sense of lying, where they won't remember the lies they tell, they won't admit to the lies they tell, they'll just tell another lie on top. It's just like a, as I said, lie bank that they just come out with. And I think as we go along this, it's just, I feel like if you feel like you have someone in your life that might be like this, or you just kind of like, you know, have this level of understanding or resonance with this, it can be really helpful for like dispelling like things that you might have internalized about yourself, or like just trauma that you might have or just bad vibes that you might have just like come into, to kind of just be discerning and also be more in touch with your emotion and immune system in terms of the reaction that these people actually inflict upon other people, in order to kind of like ward it off from a law of attraction level for a start. But I guess that kind of more comes to the end, but I just wanted to stick that in here. They don't care that you know that they're a liar, but when they realise that you realise that they're a liar, when they know that you know that they're a liar, basically, I hope that doesn't sound too like, but he knows, but she knows, but he knows, but he, you know what I mean? Like, when they understand that you see them for their true nature as being a liar, they become paranoid. because they realise you don't trust them, and they'll do other things to manipulate to get you out of the way. Maybe to like not expose their personality, but then at the same time I don't think psychopaths care so much about having their personality exposed, but then I think it's not from a humiliation level, but it's also a sense of like maybe there's less people they can manipulate if they're well known as a psychopath. They also trick you into doing things that are dangerous for them, for the victim, and also for the victim's health, and get the victim to bend to their every will, and then they blame you for everything that happens in their lives and just become very manipulative. They just want someone to like take the heat for like everything that goes on in their lives. You know, be that a bad day, but then, you know, some people take the brunt of a bad day sometimes because they've just had it up to here at times. You know, if you have a healthy relationship, hopefully you'll do things not to do that at all, because I wouldn't. But sometimes you just get like the bad and the sick, but then these people will literally create problems in order to displace that to you. Like, it's the sense of materialism. Like, it's a natural human response to displace like your anger onto something else, but the fact of a psychopath does that. They literally create problems in order to get someone else to take the back fall for it, which is why it's important to like understand these concepts in order to just avoid it, I suppose. They don't consider you a friend but a victim. They're always looking for ways to use you. They're cold, heartless, and they live parasitic lifestyles. Because another thing, it kind of boils my blood, I'm not gonna lie. Like, I feel like just because like they like to boil other people's blood doesn't mean my blood can't get boiled, because they're like naturally like psychopathic and loony. What was it that really pissed me off? Let me just get the... Oh yeah, what really pisses me off, like for example, like I've had this situation happen to me recently. They're so entitled that like they literally like don't feel that they should like pay for anything. They don't want to work. They just feel like everyone should do everything for them. They genuinely believe that, like from their core, that like everyone just should like give them everything on a plate and they're entitled to everything, and they don't have to like do anything to like gain anything. They'll just like have other people do it for them, like some sort of like royalty or something. Or like, don't think royalty even does that, to be fair. Like, it's just like it's like a, you know, it's almost it's blaspheme at the end of the day. Like, not even everyone does that for God. Like, it's not even blaspheme. It's just like the pure sense of like literal disgusting entitlement. Literally just, it infuriates me. I don't want to get angry. Like, my inner self is not angry, but the concept of it is just like literally infuriating. Like, why are you even here? Like, why do you even live? Like, please don't be here. Don't be in my, you know, like, don't be in my vicinity, because you're fucking weird. Like, no one wants to fucking give you life on a plate. Fucking do it like everyone else does. Anyway, it is an infuriating concept. But back to the actual words that we're saying. People, they're happy. When people are happy, they hate it when other people are happy with each other. Like, if other people have like healthy relationships and friends and happy situations in other people's lives. What psychopaths love is they love turning people against each other. It gives them a real sense of joy. Again, extremely odd. Like, you know, they love it. And when someone is vulnerable, they turn other people against them, so it creates one vulnerable victim often, and it's pretty sad. They don't, yeah, this is another thing about the entitlement. They don't want to do anything meaningful. They just want everyone to do things for them, and they don't show remorse for obviously any like inflicting they have. Like, being entitled, I feel like, is probably one of the least damaging things. I mean, it's not, I wouldn't say it's the least damaging. Being entitled would consider them, you know, if they feel entitled to attention, they'll do things to like create that in some, you know, bizarre way, whatever. You know, I will say covert narcissists apparently are psychopaths as well. Just to say, like, if anyone's searching out a psychopath, if you know anything about narcissists, I've done videos on narcissists if you care to figure out what a covert narcissist is. Otherwise you can Google it. Lots of videos on YouTube. But I think also I've put a little note here as well, in that autonomy will separate you from this and like save you and heal you, because I feel like once you heal from this stuff and you recognize it on an instinctual level, or just like a cognitive level, it will preserve you, I feel like, hopefully, from these experiences. Like, it doesn't stop them acting any differently, but I think you can just register it and sort of just like go more cleverly about the situation and just sort of like feel less obligation or confusion around it. Like, I actually feel like so free from any narcissist I want to be free from, and I feel like this will just free me from psychopaths. It's about fucking time. They don't feel remorse when others are emotional, because they don't have emotion. I've already said that. They have poor behavioural control and are promiscuous. I wanted to add here, I feel like I felt this sense, I didn't feel this real sense, but I feel like just because they're promiscuous does not mean they're more attractive. Like, I've literally come into contact with psychopaths which aren't very attractive, and they're psychopaths, but they like think they're God's gift to the world, and they'll like walk around like, you know, I'm God's gift to women, I'm God's gift to men, whatever. And they're promiscuous. Like, if you're a beautiful person, or just an average person, or any person, and you feel attractive, you know, that makes you attractive. Like, being promiscuous doesn't make you attractive. I just want to put that out there. Children, like, they always fight. They're like children that always fight. I think they were just talking about like how when you see fighting children, to watch them, because they could become psychopaths. And also, obviously, if people have a couple of these traits, it doesn't mean they're fully psychopathic. They could be psychopathic without being a full psychopath, obviously, and then it comes down to like the like medical terminology of what's a psychopath and whatever. You know, if like these people aren't genuinely going to be diagnosed psychopaths, probably most people in prison aren't diagnosed psychopaths. So I'm not saying like everyone in prison is bad, because I'm sure some people are like executed, you know, mistrialed or whatever. But there we go. They lack morals in every way because they don't care about anything. Narcissists lack morals, but psychopaths just don't care about anything. There are overlaps with narcissists, I feel like, but anyway, as part of the dark triad, like I mentioned, they have anger management issues. This makes a lot of sense to me. I don't know, sometimes we don't have all the like information, it doesn't click, but yeah, anger management issues are just like issues, just like the smallest things piss them off. And it's just about like relinquishing like any sort of like, it could just be really annoying to like be around them, because it feels like they're just like perpetually just like irritated, and it just kind of like it's just like a law of vibration level, whereas like when their vibrations are irritated, it just kind of can sometimes just like penetrate your atmosphere. But at the same time, I don't know, like it's just what it is, like if you have to be around one. But yeah, they often have anger management issues, like anything like that they perceive like in paranoia will like set them off. Any like small things will just make them angry. They're just always angry. Psychopaths are always angry generally, which I find quite amusing. But at the same time, like they say, like with the rule of relativity, like everyone has their own issues. Like, so their issue is that they're like always angry, but like it doesn't make me have any empathy for them. But I actually think it's quite funny. Like, they're just constantly like tortured in their minds. So jokes on you. But anyway, they see opportunities to exploit intellectually. So they're very smart, like just because they're like poor like emotional regulation, they say, because like obviously empathy like helps manage emotional regulation, because lots of people have like antisocial like impulses, but if they have like a level of empathy or even self-control, or like, you know, acknowledgement that that's like not what they want to do, or they don't have that level of materialism to push them to act on that antisocial thing, you know, like, and like obviously having a normal reaction, having like a reaction that's negative is not the same as being antisocial. I feel like if you're just a bit pissed off, like you might want to just like kick a fucking door sometimes, you know what I mean? Like that sort of thing is being antisocial, like, or even just like, do you know what I mean? Antisocial, like, where's the line with that? But at the same time, you know, I think having an emotional, like a normal emotional, like angry reaction, like none of us are robots that just are allowed to be angry when something's morally wrong, and you know what I mean? Where's the line with antisocial and behaviour or whatever? So, but these people, like, because they don't have any, like, because they have poor emotional control, doesn't mean that they are not smart. It's like their energy goes towards seeking out opportunities to exploit other people intellectually or otherwise. And it doesn't go towards their like emotional regulation, because it's not how they're wired. Often what goes along with their promiscuity is that they don't stay with one person. So if ever you've been cheated on by a psychopath, obviously it's never your fault if you're cheated on, but at the same time, they often, because they feel entitled to everything, they also feel entitled to lots of different people. I've heard with narcissists, especially somatic narcissists or like body related narcissists over cerebral narcissists, done a video on it, that they are, it's often about like conquer mentality with sex. Like their like objective is not to like have like an intimate connection with someone, it's more to like conquer the situation and like notch from a bedpost kind of thing, but not even like that good, because like some people are obviously like psychopaths probably very lonely. It's just a case of like, I want to conquer this situation and like have sex with them, and then I'm sort of like ticked off kind of thing. So that makes a lot of sense of psychopathic male behaviour in society. Like they say that, don't they, like players and stuff, like try, have sex with you, tick, done, off, good to go, next girl, here we are. So that kind of makes sense. Literally just solving all of society's, like, I'm probably not the only person that's done this, but sorted, understand that now. So yeah, often they've had a history of child abuse. Like, not that you should feel empathy for them again. Often narcissists are formed in that way where they're abused. I'm not saying that any child being abused is good, but as they become adults, you can't fix them. And that's an issue a lot of empaths have, and a lot of other people have, to have this sense of like, if I'm kind to them, I will heal their childhood trauma. You can definitely heal childhood trauma, but with narcissists and psychopaths, the wounds are still there. Like, you can obviously, anyone can monitor their like, can obviously adapt their behaviour and their like beliefs and everything. Everyone can change, but often they're very deeply wounded to the point where like, obviously if they become a psychopath, like, you know, as where if you lean towards empathy, you can fully heal from those things. And often your childhood wounds won't force you to be nasty to someone else anyway, even as a child. But anyway, so they have often a history of child abuse. Child abuse is never right, but often they do. They've not been blamed for, so then this brings a level of like entitlement to do this to other children growing up, and then they're not blamed for it. So they have this level of, I don't need to take responsibility for anything. This is a massive thing that I've noticed with psychopaths, is they take no responsibility. They will never take responsibility. They don't care about they sort of like will take it to their grave, like they've done nothing wrong, which is kind of very peculiar to other people looking in that can kind of see everything they're doing. But it's also just what it is, so there we go, you can't change other people. And this is also like why you like should have like obviously no responsibility for anything inflicted, because they're the same to everyone for a start. It's not like, I think often people can be like deceived into this mentality of like, if you think about, as I said, the sense of manipulation that can come from narcissists and psychopaths, is you can have this level of like, but they were so nice, and yes, it's part of the charm, but then when they turn, and in narcissism there's this sense of Jekyll and Hyde, where they're sort of like good 1 second and the next second they're just like a complete demonic being. Kind of same goes for psychopathy, in that they're like the same to everyone. You can have this sense of like, oh, they're with a new girlfriend now, like, oh, it's they're like back to this like angelic person they were, and maybe they are because they're like charming a new person, but they will inevitably be who they are to other people. The sense of charm, it's not genuine, it's not a real authentic connection. It's like even in nature, it's like a charm, because, you know, it's the way we all as human beings need connection and need sort of like ways to connect with others and just feel a sense of belonging, you know, and when these people are literally fawning and sort of just creating this like false charm in order to get to their goal, it's not authentic, it's just emotional manipulation, and it's the honest truth, it's the sad but honest truth. And then they project their personalities on you. So I've had this where like, because they can kind of say different things to different people and they love to turn people against each other, they kind of come up with these like manipulative, like, I don't know, like they'll just say to like one person, you know, it's this sense of like gossip I used to hate in school, that like when people were gossipy and stuff, like it actually just used to like literally make me feel so suffocated. Actually, I hated it. But as an empath, you obviously like you like, I used to sort of just not know how to protect my energetic field either, or I did a bit, but I had so much trauma like I just sort of used to absorb it. it's so toxic and awful. Like, you know, they love it, but for anyone that's healthy, it's extremely toxic. But yeah, they project their personalities, and while it's amusing once you kind of put the pieces together, and also if you like, most people can kind of like sense this and just sort of like not pay attention at the same time, but the way they project their personalities to other people in different ways, like, or they lie to just like fathom this sort of like personality that kind of just turns people against each other and like just brings them, you know, and they project their, you know, sometimes what can be amusing is when two people know each other and can sense they're both authentic people, and then there's a psychopath here that's kind of trying to like manipulate the other two against each other, and the other people are like can see what's going on quite clearly, and then the psychopath is just sort of like, you know, caught out and sort of humiliated, and it all kind of backfires, and it's quite amusing. I have a bit of a like sadistic, like, you know, you could say sense of humour strand to my sense of humour, but I think it's, I also, and I think this what helped me with narcissism is that even though I think I do have some psychopathic traits, I'm not gonna lie, like some of that, I don't know, I don't really want to pick all of them out. I definitely think I have some psychopathic traits. As I said, I'm a dark empath, and I have some narcissistic traits. But just because it's not like this level of like, just because I have psychopathic traits, just because I have narcissistic traits, doesn't mean I have to group myself with all the other fully fledged psychopaths and narcissists. I have empathic traits, okay? Just because I'm a dark empath does not mean I actually have more empathy than the normal person. It doesn't mean I have to group myself because I have my traits to a group of people that like don't have any empathy just because I identify with some of their traits. Like, that's just not something I need to do. So it's just a sense of like individuating more, which narcissists don't get anyway. So when you start to fully individuate, narcissists will fall away, and hopefully psychopaths too. So there we go. So yeah, and obviously it also comes from a sense of like, often people see in others what they are themselves, and they actually, and obviously from a law of attraction level, we attract what we are. So often their sense of paranoia is often also fueled if they have these manipulative personalities, and when they project their personalities on others, but then someone's clearly not a manipulative person, something just doesn't add up there, you know what I mean? And people really like, you know, there's this thing in narcissism called flying monkeys, where some people will like pretend to have this like false sense of surface level relationship with a narcissist in order to, we haven't even talked about sociopaths, but have a surface level to gain some sort of like supply themselves, or just they might have some sort of like self-esteem issue within themselves, or some sort of issue within themselves that creates this sort of like level of you know, need to have more supply or attention from someone else. They're called flying monkeys in narcissism. But it's just this level of like, and there are overlaps, it's just this level of like trying to condemn or put, you know, problems that a psychopath creates or tries to project within their own personality. Like, if they feel like they're an evil person, like not evil necessarily, but if they're like a mean person, they'll kind of like try and make it out like someone else is a mean person. But then if they're obviously not, it just is something that doesn't add up. And this is why I love how people can be intuitive. Not everyone is extremely intuitive. Narcissists are renowned for not being intuitive at all. Again, kind of funny, because people that actually have a sense of like other people and like self-awareness, I think this was what I was trying to say about the type 1 psychopaths, they don't have a sense of awareness of other people because they're so internalized with themselves and like self-focused. They don't actually see other people's like, you know, they don't pick up on other people's like social, it's not necessarily social cues, it's more a case of like they don't really pick up, I don't think, on other people's like connection to normality or something. So when they like obviously project other people, their personality on other people, they don't really understand that other people can see through it. Anyway, this can cause poor self-esteem for the victim and accumulate beliefs over time. If this has happened perpetually, or you have a parent which may have these traits, but it does help you be grateful for the little things. And one thing I've noticed from narcissists and recovering from that is that you'll always stay the same person, you'll always have the spirit you have, but you'll become very discerning and and learn what you need to learn through God, but also I'm not blaming God for this. I don't want to say through God, but like God only knows why these things happen. You know, we'll just leave it like that. But it's a case of you are the same person. You will heal. Your spirit will heal. Your mind will heal. Your body will heal in whatever way that means. Not to say it doesn't cause massive damage for people. And I have been through a lot of therapy and medication. So there you go. Emotions. And also, as the last thing then, in terms of healing, you can often have like emotional reactions towards these sort of like outputs they give, or sort of like reactions that they evoke, or like issues they create. These emotions are very real. They have a very physiological, psychological experience created for the person. There's a nervous system response which is activated. There's an energy level of suction, or not even suction, just used to kind of cognify the situation. Using power of breath is very helpful to go through this experience. And you can also have a dissociative reaction when this is carried through life, and when it's like a coping mechanism if you don't know any better in order to cope with it. And I think, you know, I'm doing some work now, but I think even when I like recognise this on small levels when I was younger, I don't know, I feel like there's just things like people can sense, or if you want to look at it from a law of attraction level, not to fuck with you once you understand their behaviour, like, because you're just not going to give them what they want. Do you know what I mean? They want to make you sad, and they want to make you isolated. They want to suck the life from you and create bad emotions within you. When you're like immune to all that shit, they'll just move on to someone else and do it to someone else. And it's a very sad thing, but then that person will learn. And the same thing will go through them. You're not a victim. You might be a victim, but you're not a like, it's nothing you've done, you know what I mean? They'll do it to everyone. They can't have authentic friendship. And that bitterness just, you know, it does things to a person throughout life. But I don't feel any empathy, you know what I mean? But it's just a case of get the fuck away. Learn. Don't give them what they want. Let them die in a hole or a well or something. Who cares? So, thanks for listening. Speak to you soon. Bye.